What's up, guys? It's All the Cars here, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of a different video today. Maybe just driving around and talking. There's something that I want to talk about, which is whether buying and building a first-gen Lexus GS300 is worth it. But first things first, I really want to thank you guys for over 800 views on my last video. That really scared me since I was pretty much just rambling like a schizophrenic in the junkyard. But another thing is I whipped together this intro. I hope you guys like it. So yeah, just let me know what your thoughts are. But yeah, let's get right into it. Okay, so is building a GS147 GS300 worth it? The short answer is no, it isn't. And let me explain. So I've been into Lexuses for almost 10 years now. They're some of my favorite cars, and I'm a little biased, but in my opinion, some of the best cars ever made. I've owned GS300, second-gen GS300s, LS400s, IS300s, SCs. They're fantastic cars. The problem with them is they are luxury cars. So anything with a 1UZ is very, very, very expensive. It's very rewarding to build, but I have a failed drift car LS400 project in my past, and I can say with utmost confidence that for your first project, you should not be taking on something like that. It's a lot of work. But the 2JZ cars are a bit easier to take on. And what I see a lot in like the Facebook groups with these, not even specifically first-gen GS300s, but just any 2JZ car in general, is they're really, really cheap to get into, especially these first-gen GS300s. Like, I picked mine up for $2,000, which that's a whole story I'll tell in a little bit. But they're very, very cheap cars to get into, but there's kind of two barriers you have to cross to make them really remotely fun or exciting to drive. And one is either boosting it or manual swapping it, and both of those are things most people are not capable of doing unless you are like pretty well versed in these cars, which the only reason I was able to knock my manual swap out in the time I was and do it all on my own is because a buddy of mine has an Aristo, and he was having a shop do it, and he sent me the entire parts list that the shop told him to buy to accomplish this swap. So he sent that part list to me because he's a good friend, and I've noticed over the years there's a lot of gatekeeping in these vehicles too, but which doesn't really help anything or make them any more worth it. But that's why I was able to get my manual swap done in a week on my own with basically no help from friends. So these cars are very, very cheap to get into, but the cost of getting them to a point where they're actually an enjoyable vehicle is a bit steep, and you need quite a bit of knowledge to get there. Also, another thing is engine, transmission, suspension aftermarket, and even brakes, phenomenal. But if you're looking for aesthetic stuff, you better either know where to look or be scouring Yahoo Auctions Japan or the Facebook groups just constantly to find stuff. Even I had such a hard time finding an Aristo bumper even for a reasonable price, and even my OEM wing doesn't show up that often for sale. So if you're looking to build like something crazy looking that's going to get you a lot of clout and attention at meets, this isn't the car for you. Like I said, the potential with the engine is basically to the moon, but you definitely have to pay to play to get there. And a lot of people, what they end up doing is thinking they're going to build a high horsepower JZ car, which is kind of what everyone thinks, because these cars end up being a lot of people's like first cars or first rear-wheel drive cars. I mean, my first rear-wheel drive car was a LS400, and that was kind of the car I got burned on my swap on. But they're really rewarding to get right. So if what you're looking for is just a fun car, no, these are not worth it at all. They require so much work to get there. But if you know what you're doing, and if you are willing to put the time and effort in, like mine's my favorite car I've ever owned, and I've done a lot of stuff to make it way more enjoyable to drive than it was stock, because that's the thing about these cars, is they aren't fun to drive really in the slightest stock. It just feels like you're driving a Camry, basically, which is kind of what it is, a fancier Camry. But the reason I always wanted one of these cars is I just love the way they look. I'm weird. I know a lot of people think they're ugly, and I get where they're coming from. I don't really see how a lot of people think the second gen is the better looking one at all, but that's just me. And so another problem these cars have, if you're looking to get into them, is most of them were seen as just a Camry. So you can't really find super nice examples anymore. Like, if I didn't have a parts car for my current one, I would kind of be in a lot of trouble, because every part on these that isn't engine related, because it's a 2JZ, and suspension, the front end is a second gen GS300, the rear end is a Supra and SC300, so parts are pretty easy to find there. And the transmission, I mean, since I'm R154 swapped, it's kind of a different scenario there. But any body panels you're looking for, any interior pieces, they're going to be very, 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 very hard to find. There's a lot of pieces on my car and my parts car both that are just shot, and it's really tough to find good ones, because a lot of these cars, what happened is it has the 2JZ that everyone wants for boost. So a lot of the fate of a lot of these cars end up being people just buy them, pull the engine, and scrap them. So there's really not many examples left out there, and a lot of the examples are kind of in similar condition cosmetically as mine. It's really not great. Okay, now I'll tell you the story of what happened when I got mine. So I found mine on Facebook Marketplace for $3,500, and since I had my Mustang drift car before that, I had plenty of sets of wheels, and I'm not a huge fan of three-piece wheels. I know everyone's going to say that's pretty much sacrilegious being into the cars I'm into, but it was on these BBS three-piece wheels, and I said, yo, how much if you keep the wheels? And he said $2,000. I'm in Michigan. This guy was in New Jersey. And I said, okay, cool, I'll come get it this weekend then. And so my plan was, I was going to leave Friday, grab a buddy of mine who's used to doing road trips like this for cars, Bearded Wrencher, that's his YouTube channel, check him out. He does a lot of cool stuff with Toyota Tercels. He picks them up and drives them back home across the country. But anyways, so that was the plan. Grab my girlfriend, grab my buddy. We were going to grab a U-Haul trailer, head out after work, and then we would just get a hotel. We'd be there later Saturday, and it'd just be a weekend trip. But I think it was either Thursday or Friday. This guy, he hits me up, and he says, so I have to be at work at 11 on Saturday morning, so if you're not there by then, we can't do it. So I was like, oh. So I basically told my buddy and my girlfriend we were going to drive through the night. My buddy would tag team out with me, and we would just drive through the night, be there before 11, and then hopefully be home that night. This ended up being a trip that scarred me for road trips for a very, very long time, because everything was going great. We hit the Ohio-Pennsylvania border, and this was in the middle of winter. So it was 50 degrees here in Michigan. So I'm like, this is like prime weather to be doing this. Let's go. And we hit the Ohio-Pennsylvania border, and we stop at a gas station to fill up. And the attendant says they're not letting anyone into Pennsylvania unless you have four-wheel drive. She said four-wheel drive won't even save you. And I'm on all-terrain tires on my Yukon that are rated for severe snow or whatever. So I am like, we're from Michigan. I don't think you understand the kind of conditions we're used to driving in. Little did I know what I was in for the rest of the night. This was in the Appalachian Mountains, and it was pitch black out. I'm surrounded by semi-trucks crawling up and down the mountain at about 15 miles an hour, and I can't see anything because it's just white out. And I'm watching my arrival time creep up by hours and hours, because part of my plan was, okay, if I can't get a hotel, I'll stop at a rest area and sleep. And we were supposed to get there at like 6 in the morning, and I saw my arrival time creep up to about 10 throughout that whole night. I was getting really, really upset. And my girlfriend and my buddy were both asleep, and I can't sleep sitting down, so I'm perfectly fine. Every time we stop off for gas, I grab an energy drink because I'm kind of just running on anger and caffeine at that point. So we are doing this the whole night. Every time I go to pass a semi, because they're going 15 and I'm trying to go at least a little faster, they're trying to run me off the mountain because they think I'm going too fast, and they're flashing their high beams at me. I'm doing like 25 at most because I'm also really scared. But finally, we get out of the mountains, or we're not even out of the mountains yet, but the second I see the sun start to rise to a point where I can see, I'm doing 70 because I'm used to driving in like extreme snow. I have really good tires. I have four-wheel drive. I'm going to be fine, and I know that. And there's like nobody else on the road. So we get there, and this thing is dumped. That's the only mod I bought it with, was the coilovers. This thing's dumped. And the guy lives on a hill, like his driveway's on a hill. This thing hasn't moved in like years because he did a lot of weird maintenance stuff to it and just like pulled stuff out and cleaned it up for no reason, or just replaced the spark plugs because he wanted to, which I guess that's better than not doing it. But anyways, we take like an hour to load this thing on the trailer because it's so low. And so then we're driving home, and everything's going just fine. I'm awake for this whole time, mind you. Like I said, I can't sleep sitting. So I was awake for like 40 hours or something straight by the end of this trip. And just because I left straight from work. So we get to Ohio on the Ohio Turnpike, and all of a sudden the windshield just drops to negative temperatures. And there's literally negative temperatures blowing into the radiator. It's like basically going past my heat. I'm shivering, feeling this come through the dash with my heat on high. And then we pull off at a gas station like near Ohio and Indiana border, and all of a sudden the Yukon doesn't start. And me and my friend just look at each other, and we're with like the most scared look on our faces like that. And so we end up getting it going. And I'm like, I'm not shutting this off until we get back. It doesn't matter if I'm filling up. I don't care. I don't want to risk this thing not running. So then we end up getting back, and when we get back, when I was looking at the car, I was told it was rust-free other than some bubbling on the quarter panel. But boy, oh boy, was I lied to here. So I get this thing in the air at work, and the pinch welds are gone. but I couldn't see because it was surrounded by snow, and I couldn't get under it because it was dumped. And there's also a hole in the floor. Both of those are probably repairable. The rust that I probably would have and should have caught if I was not running on fumes is around the windshield, which I think I showed in the video where I showed you that car. And yeah, so a lot of where I was going with this whole story, which I know I got a bit sidetracked, is a lot of these cars are rusted out. They're all approaching 300,000 miles. They're 30 years old. They have common problems. The door trim likes to separate. The ECUs like to blow capacitors. They obviously rust. And mine has a blown head gasket I just discovered the other night. So that's really cool, which means I'm probably going to save up and throw a turbo 1JZ in it. I'm hoping I can get one more year out of this engine. I don't see why I wouldn't be able to, because it runs and drives fine. It's not overheating. It's not misfiring. It's just consuming a bit of coolant, and it's bubbling in the overflow, which is kind of a telltale sign of a head gasket. But since it has 300,000 miles, I'd say it lived a pretty good life. Otherwise, what I basically built with mine is a worse E39. So if you're looking for a big body sedan that's manual, just get an E39. I mean, I know this one's going to be way more, I know a GS is going to be way more reliable, but realistically, the money you're going to spend getting it to where I got it to is going to be the same amount of money you would put into an E39. And then if you just want a rear-wheel drive manual JZ sedan, IS300s are out there for probably the same amount of money that I dumped into mine. Like I said, I wanted one of these cars since high school. One of these with an R154 swap has been my dream car for over 10 years. So this was worth it to me, but if you're looking at building one, there's so many better cars for the money, unless you're extremely dedicated to the platform. Again, like I said, they're phenomenal cars. They just take a lot of time, money, and energy to get them to a point where they are even comparable from a driver's standpoint to anything else, really. I mean, I know you can buy an Aristo. You can pick them up for about 10 grand, which isn't too bad. I mean, I've seen some of the twin turbo ones go for that on Marketplace. So if that's all you're looking for, and like, then go for it. I mean, the whole goal with mine is I kind of wanted one because it's basically the closest thing we got looks wise, and maybe an IS300's closer, but to a USDM chaser. So yeah, anyways, yeah, I mean, it's an old Japanese car. They're all kind of getting to a point where hard ones are or good ones are getting hard to find, and there's not many worth what people are asking anymore. They're kind of starting to get to the point where all these classic muscle cars got to, where they're old and they're kind of getting to collector status. At least the decent ones are. So, I mean, realistically, I would suggest just buying a BMW or buying an IS300. That's basically what I would suggest, as opposed to this, unless, again, you're really, really dedicated to the platform, and this is like the car that you want, like it was for me. Anyways, I will try and get some more content out to you guys. I really, really appreciate the views on the last video again, and I love all you 45 subscribers. I appreciate it. I'm not 100% sure what to do for content in the winter. I think I've said it before, I kind of shut down, so my videos might be a bit weird and random. I might do some more videos on my other vehicles if building them is worth it or not. Anyways, I will see you guys in the next one. Like, comment, subscribe. Alright, yep, see ya.